The Question Is, from Thinking Focus.
Hey, it's Ricky. In this series of recaps of The Question Is, I've been back into the archives again to pull out another episode that really stuck with me. This one is episode 133, and it tackles a question we hear all the time in coaching. How do I deal with a bad boss? Now, I've chosen this episode not because bad bosses don't exist, of course they do, but because this conversation doesn't rush to judgment. It slows the question down. And that's usually where the insight is. One of the things Paul and I talk about early on in this episode is how quickly we reach for that label, bad boss. And sometimes that label is absolutely fair. There's no getting away from it. But sometimes what's really going on is a change in management style, a shift in expectations, more scrutiny perhaps than we're used to, or a loss of autonomy that we didn't see coming. And when that happens, it feels personal, even when it isn't. There's a moment in this conversation where we talk about the importance of playing devil's advocate as a coach. And that's not to dismiss someone's experience, but to help them see the situation more clearly. Let me share that moment with you. I want you to listen for this idea. Sometimes bad boss is about perception, not intent. Not just have they changed boss, they've also changed access to that inner circle. So they were formerly part of the decision-making unit. They were able to understand what was going on. They'd hear it firsthand. It wasn't, perhaps censored in a way that they feel it is now. And actually, the whole relationship with their old boss was one where it was kind of just get on with it. I trust you to make it happen. And now the environment has changed so that the new boss basically has got to get a grip of things and got to be very much able to articulate why they're doing what they're doing, what the reason for things are. There's a real clear focus on getting value for money, all of those things. And of course, there's a style change that goes, do they not trust me anymore? And actually, that's not the point. The environment has changed and your boss has changed in that way. And you've got to find a new way of working together. And actually, my role is to play devil's advocate for them. So I'm almost going, well, I can imagine your boss is thinking this. And they go, oh, I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah, and I think that's not an uncommon thing to when the bad boss question comes up. I do think as a coach, sometimes you have to play devil's advocate and go, well, let's explore that for a second. And I'm not saying your boss isn't a bad boss. Sadly, I think we come across bad bosses way more often than we should. However, a lot of the time, perception is a key player in this, and people sometimes label somebody as a bad boss when what they actually mean is they're a different management style. The world has changed. And I feel stressed or uncomfortable within that, so I'm going to blame the boss.
What I really like about this part of the conversation is that it opens up a more useful question. Is this boss being tough yet reasonable, disorganised and unclear, or are they genuinely toxic? Because those are very different situations and they require very different responses. A tough boss might need better conversations around expectations. A disorganised boss might need help thinking and creating clarity. Now, a toxic boss, that's a different conversation altogether. And this is where this particular episode becomes very practical. Across all of those scenarios, one skill keeps coming up again and again. Getting really good at asking for clarity. Clarity about what's expected, by when, what good actually looks like. And then confirming it. Not defensively, not emotionally, just clearly. Because clarity protects you. It reduces misunderstanding. It lowers emotion. And if things do turn toxic, it creates a factual record of what's really going on. The hardest part of this episode, and the most honest, is the acknowledgement that sometimes the right answer could be to leave. Not every boss is going to change. Not every environment is healthy. And staying in something that's damaging you every day isn't resilience, it's self-harm. And that's a tough call, but it is a real one. If this episode resonates with you, I'd encourage you to listen to the full conversation, and I'll drop a link in the description to make it easy to find. Not for quick fixes, but for perspective. Because dealing with a bad boss isn't about winning an argument. It's about protecting your performance, your confidence, and your well-being.
To find out how Thinking Focus can unlock the potential within your organisation, go to www.thinkingfocus.com, where you'll discover more about the work we do, helping our clients increase productivity and enable change.